Because we don't like their.
They don't like to be done.
Yeah, we just make noise.
Yeah.
They didn't have drum.
I think.
Yeah. It's not practical. Well, it's right. Wrapping hands in shame. It's called.
You already ready for your patience? Your sound guy tonight, I have no idea what he's doing, so tell me, like, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, the actual sound guy has been doing this for 8 years, or I don't even know. David Owens is working at the election. And he has been since 4:30 this morning. God bless his little soul. So I went to go vote this morning, and while I was there, a woman came in and started kind of questioning the poll workers about how they were doing this and how they were guaranteeing that her vote was going to count and wasn't going to get stolen by Democrats or something like that. And she suggested that we watch a movie called 2000 Mules, which I would suggest you not watch.
You went right out and watched it.
I would like to actually, just because I'd like to know what's out there, but you know, anyway, yeah, so it was cool though. It ended up fine. She calmed down, and everybody that worked there was very nice. And everyone just kept voting.
Yeah.
Which was awesome.
Yeah.
So thanks to you and all of your stickers for voting, and whichever way you chose to do today. Greatly appreciated. So I don't think I need to introduce myself because I know all you guys, close to you.
What's your name?
There's people on Zoom. My name is Steve Schnarr. I'm with Missouri River Relief, and this is the Big Money Speaker Series. And this happens the second Tuesday of every month that we can actually pull it off, which is most fun. So thanks for coming down here on election night. This is way cooler and way funner than watching a stupid returns on your TV. Yeah, good show. And to those of you guys on Zoom or YouTube or wherever, sorry, it sort of blacked out there right as we started, but router worked out cold, so we got that fixed. We're back at it. Reason you guys are here tonight, so well, I guess one other thing I'm just going to say is like, so we're nearing the end of Missouri River Relief's year of like major programming, right? We still have a lot of things that go on between now and the end of the year, but it's slowed down dramatically, and I don't think we have any more things involving boats necessarily, at least that are planned so far. So I just want to thank, everybody here has been involved in one way or another in pulling off the shenanigans that we do out there in the Missouri River. Some more than others, Combs's. But everyone here has done an absolute, a lot. And yeah, just we tried Rob out last week on the river. That's probably our third time dragging me out there this year.
It's fun.
Chuck was just telling me he helped carry boats during the 340. Thank you. But I just want to thank all you guys for giving up weekends, giving up weekdays, and helping introduce people to the river, many for the first time, helping pull off events. I don't know whose idea some of these things are, but when they're done, everyone's super proud, and I'm just really thankful to all of you for all that you do to make it happen. And I think I'm just going to move on to the presentation, which is why we're here, and we're super lucky. So I'm not sure where I met Libby, but Libby Reuter, what?
I know.
Do you remember?
Yes.
I'm going to tell a story about when I think I might have met you.
Okay.
But I feel like I met you before this too, but like the first project I was involved in. Okay, that's what I was going to talk about. Yeah. So Libby has been a transformative artist in the St. Louis area and beyond, for many, many, many years. In fact, I just remember you giving us a piece of an art project that you did during the 1993 flood. And that's how long she's been paying attention to rivers and trying to connect people to the stories of our rivers in unique and interesting ways through her art projects. I met her because what she's going to tell you about today, the Watershed Cairns project, she was kind of just getting going, I think, at that time. And she'll tell you all about it, but it involves visiting different places in the Mississippi River Watershed and creating cool photographs. And and I'll let her tell that story. But this particular day, she was involved in creating and doing a river cleanup in Mozambique Island on the Mississippi River, just downstream of where the Missouri enters the Mississippi. And she helped organize a river cleanup there and a big party after that. So we had all of these different environmental organizations in the area, many of which have long histories working together, but not always working on the same page, right? So Libby could see that need to bring everyone together in a really sacred place like this island in the middle of the river. One of the things that she wanted to do was, with the river cleanup trash, make one of the cairns, like she's going to tell you about in just a little second. So it ended up being like a pile of trash. And we had to, I don't remember all the stories, but it took a little finagling to figure out just where we were going to let you go and find the cool stuff that you're going to do this with. And then I think you got stranded for a while. Maybe we'll tell the story later, but eventually we got her back to where the wine was. We ended up using that trash can picture on our annual report that year because it was just such a cool. It's something we're really proud of, to be a small part of something that's so much bigger, and that's what you guys are going to learn about today. I do want to just share just a little bit about Libby's bio. So she was the associate dean at the Washington University School of Art, which is now called the Sam Fox School of Design and Visual Arts. Is that correct? Yeah. In St. Louis. The executive director of the Schmidt Arts Center at Southwestern Illinois College in Belleville, Illinois, until her retirement in 2012. She's based in Alton, Illinois. She's a sculptor and an installation artist, and really way beyond what those words say, whose work deals with themes and often intersecting with the natural world, which is what's so exciting. So at this point, Libby came from St. Louis. And I do want to give a shout out to the Katy Trail Bed and Breakfast, because they put her up for free tonight, which is really nice. Sorry. Libby, are you getting the PowerPoint? Oh, thank you. I'm going to pass this on to Libby now. Thanks, Mel, for getting that rolling. Oh, also shout out to Raven. Did I get it right? Who's running the bar? Drew and Rachel for letting me in here today. Thank you. And Rachel's been letting us use Les Bourgeois Bistro for I don't know how many years to do the Big Money Speaker Series. So thank you.
Well, hi, I want to thank you for inviting me. You all probably know more about the rivers than I do, so I'm just going to share with you my view. But thank you for all of you doing to connect people with the rivers, floating on the rivers, cleaning up the rivers, having your families put their feet in the rivers. That's so important. But we have been doing this project for now 11 years. And in October 21st, we placed the 429 cairn. Anybody recognize this place?
Pittsburgh.
Absolutely, in Pittsburgh. This was at the start of the Ohio River, which is where the Allegheny and the Monongahela come together. Right there. So we're finished. And I say that with some sadness and kind of pride, because we have done all of these images. And those of you who have the postcards will notice that the dots represent every place that we have placed a cairn. And that is to visually show people what this watershed looks like. This is the first cairn we did in 2011. It's maybe 15 inches high, and it's sitting in the rubble on 2nd Street, where an industrial building came down, and was our first experiment. And initially, we were just trying to make cool pictures. St. Louis, which is where Josh, my collaborator, and I are from. He's the photographer. I built the glass. And you'll notice that one of the things we do with all of our cairns on the website and when they're exhibited is that their street address and their GPS coordinates are identified. That's so that any one of us can go back to that place at a different time and experience the 4-dimensional quality of the space. The images just kind of like 2 dimensions, but the idea of how muddy the ground is, how humid the area is, what animal or petrochemical smells you smell at that place can only be found by going right to the spot. So the inspiration initially for the cairn sculptures was from the religious reliquaries, which are these glass or crystal and precious metal containers that hold some kind of ugly dead bone or 2, a bit of blood or an old piece of cloth that is connected with a holy person. So we want to flip it though, and point the holy outside of the container in the nature. And so we've got another reference point, which is the cairns. Probably are all familiar with them, stacks of stones that hikers will leave to mark a trail or as a memorial. I build these with glass I find at flea markets and yard sales. Josh Rowan, my collaborator, calls that the glass ship. The local places with glass from. So here's a picture of what the table in my studio looks like. So then we take these out into nature and set them up. And this photo kind of shows, we're used to thinking of little glass objects as sitting on the table. These are range in height from 24 inches to, we've done some where Josh has to put the topper on it because I can't reach it. So I'm gonna just kind of quickly show you a few images from our various river trips, and I do mean a few. So we started working in the St. Louis area in 2011. And we worked on the Merrimack River, as well as in the suburban areas. And one of the interesting things about having the GPS coordinates, this is in Illinois, in a growing suburban area. And they were hiding a stream underground at this site. And now you can take those GPS coordinates and you're standing in the drive-up window of my credit union. So it's a way of revealing the history of a place. And this is another one we're particularly proud of because it shows the erosion that happens when there's a lot of building on the uplands and roads and condos and to create this, what I call Grand Canyon of mud. And we came back later and those sharply defined areas became this, just, you can see the picture of me sitting there. It's now just totally washed into a great mud valley. And the thing about doing them in the St. Louis area is that we would come back and try to capture it at a different time, but we seldom went to exactly the same place. So here's this cairn overlooking a quarry. It ordinarily you can't see because on the roadside is all overgrown with bush. You can't see it, but we were there in winter, fall, and we could see the quarry, the river, and that's the Jefferson Barracks Bridge. So we started working and we were thinking, oh, we're not really representing the watershed, we're just doing the St. Louis area. So in 2016, we decided we would do the Mississippi River.
So are those dots all your parents?
Yes, yeah.
There's thousands of them.
No, it looks like thousands. There's 429. So why we'd like to share this image is because we don't tend to see the rivers. They kind of disappear in the map. They're just those little thin blue lines. And this really draws attention to it. So as I said before, we always record the GIS and information about the site. So there's a little paragraph, 2 or 3 sentences that talk about why that site is important in a watershed. And when we're doing these long Mississippi or other rivers sojourns, we have things in Dodge's van and go from place to place. So we started, and you all recognize this place, Lake Itasca, at the northernmost point of the Mississippi River. So, yeah, so it's a real iconic place, right? And it's cool. Yeah, and you can see the cairn hiding there. It's one of the few shots we have people in them because I nearly had a breakdown at this point because the kids weren't paying any attention to it. You know, they were just running by.
Yeah, I love that.
Did the Cairns stay there?
No, thank you for asking that. No, we just, and that's another reason we're concerned about them breaking in. We don't want to leave glass in the river. So this is a couple other views of Josh's van. And that those views were at the southernmost point of the Mississippi River. You're looking out, but this is the end of the road that in Louisiana, as far as south as you can go on the road. So we thought we were at the Gulf. No, this is a bayou, and beyond it is another bayou, and then there's the Gulf. But unless you have a boat, you aren't getting there. So this is as close as we could get. So this again, to just remind you what the whole thing looks like. And then the Ohio River we did in 2020 and 2022, mostly 2022. And this was just a really beautiful place, but so urbanized mostly that not as well, there were lots of it. So, and most recently, we've been doing the Illinois River. And this is the mouth of the Illinois where it joins the Mississippi at Paramount State Park. And it's a beautiful park. Largest or second largest state park.
In the world, or Illinois.
Yeah, it's
In
in
the US.
Illinois, in the state of Illinois, second largest park in the state of Illinois. Okay, yeah, thanks for keeping me on this there. So, then we tackled the Missouri River. Oops. And there's supposed to be a big yellow line that shows you where the Missouri River is, but you all know where the Missouri River is.
It's up there.
Yeah. And this is where the Missouri River starts, at Rowan Creek, north of Yellowstone National Park. So there's something called Three Rivers, which is the official start of the Missouri River. But that's just as far as Lewis and Clark could go. They would have had to portage their canoes to go farther, and they were tired.
Well, Three Rivers is the point where the name Missouri River begins to be used. There's the Gallatin, the Three Rivers come in there.
Right.
They go many more miles.
Right, that's right, yes. So this is following one of them. And Gallatin.
The Jefferson.
Jefferson, it's following the Jefferson.
The Madison, the Jefferson, and the Gallatin.
Yes. And we also did some things on the Yellowstone in Wyoming, just because that's such an important tributary. Wyoming shots here. And one of the cairns that I made to take along is this black band glass cairn, and it's called False Gods. And it's to talk about the oil extraction in the West. So it also shows up very well in snow.
That's why it's black.
It's black and gold. Yes.
Do you have that right very far to that spot? Is it?
This spot, no, this spot is not far off the road. But there's some other shots I could show you where it was far out, and I had to hike back so I wouldn't leave footprints in the snow in the foreground of the photo. So I would go way back in the trees and then walk. Josh would tell me where to walk so that the steps would be behind the piece or in the shadow. So we want these things to look kind of magical, like they just appeared there. So they have a kind of elfin, mysterious thing. So people, I don't know about you, but when I look at a beautiful landscape photo, I say, oh, beautiful landscape. And then I go on. But we want people to stop for a minute and be curious about it, the sculpture, but also because they've stopped to look at it, they'll pay more attention to the landscape itself. And a lot of times people will say, oh, that looks just like, not with this one necessarily, they might remember a trip they took to Bearskin Pass, but with others, they'll say that's like my grandfather's farm, or they have some personal memory of it.
Is that on the Missouri?
Yes, this is all on the Missouri or Missouri tributaries.
How do you get them all so perfectly vertical?
I carry a level.
Use spacers underneath.
Yeah. So we're looking, we're rubbing around for the right size rocks to stick underneath. Oh, and story, we were doing one piece in a creek, and at the edge of the city park. And I'm feeling around in the water for a flat stone, and I pull up this thing very flat, and somebody's phone.
Oh.
So that's the thing about nature. It's not just nature, it's humans in nature everywhere. And this is in the Missouri Breaks area, and we did another shot about 9 o'clock, and the fire was in the distance, and we kept getting closer and closer and closer to the mountains where the fire was. And then we set up the cairn with LED lights in the glass and waited for it to be dark and to capture the fire just at a moment where it flashed across from one set of treetops to another. Josh is an amazing part. So here's the false gods cairn again, and this is in Billings, Montana. I don't know if any of you have driven around Montana recently, but it's just totally dedicated to extracting oil to everywhere. And so this was Billings is a relatively small town. There are 5 refineries in town. Within the city limits, there are others outside, but you know, it's kind of overwhelming. And but this little town, and it was midday, nobody around. So Josh and I set up the cairn in the middle of the street, and there's nobody there. And then a guy in an SUV came up and pulled over to the other side of the street. And we have literature that when somebody's curious, we give it to me. And I walked toward him with this literature, and he was looking busily at his phone. He didn't make eye contact with me. I thought, that's okay. And so Josh said, okay, we got the shot. Load it up in the van and take off. And we went then, Yellowstone River comes in near there. So we went to the Yellowstone River in a park. We're looking for sites, and then Josh says, well, that's strange. There's like a police vehicle on the bicycle trail over there. And then we looked straight ahead, and there was another police vehicle in front of us. Apparently, the guy in the SUV told the cops that we were setting up bombs in the middle of the street. And my partner Bill at the back, he stays home with his whole stuff, and his story and we were counting on him is to have bail money for us if we.
But they are truth bombs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's kind of refinery.
No one wants that.
Yeah.
So Libby, each of your parents has a name, I gather.
Well, some of them do. There are a lot of them that are, well, now this is the crystal cairn for obvious reasons. You saw that overlooking the glacier. So some, and they reoccur, others are reassembled. So they just get names like white and clear cairn or blue and white cairn.
What do you do with them all? Because you don't leave them out there
No.
at your house.
Yeah, again, talk to Bill about that.
You need a house to store them.
Right, yeah.
Are they, do you disassemble them and then you restack them?
Yeah, they're in stacks, usually in a stack that I can fit in the back of my SUV, so no more than, 30 inches high in a mill crate or tub, and then they stack one on top of the other. So they can be assembled in different groups or a piece of glass added to one. And
So these are not glued together or anything.
they're glued together in segments. So like the one you're looking at right now, this to here is a segment. That's another piece. This is another 2 pieces. So they go together in different combinations. So we do use some colored glass, but it doesn't fit in many situations, but this did.
What's this one called?
Well, the piece is called Pollinators Welcome. This is canola plant, the rapeseed.
Oh, yeah.
And we looked a long time for this field because when you drive in one direction, you see this beautiful yellow field, and then you turn around and come back, and because the flowers are all facing the sun, you can't find the field when you go in that direction. So we did with it.
I was gonna ask you if you were in Canada, because they love the rapeseed, so you're almost in Canada there.
Yes, right, right. Yeah, we almost went into Canada, but I didn't have my passport with me. So, this one is on the Cannonball River, and this bridge is important because that's where the no Detroit access pipeline protest had happened, and this bridge is the spot where the native people, the water warriors, water protectors, conceded to the federal government and left their camp and came there. So,
Libby, in that one, you had two cairns.
yeah, and kind of to represent the two forces there, the water keepers and water protectors and the federal government, which interestingly is the black cairn.
Yes.
Because, you know, the oil industry.
Is that the about the way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, sometimes you get really lucky.
Now, this is two of your parents here.
Right, right, yeah,
Okay,
but which is unusual, we don't
normally do
don't
two.
normally do too, but the place kind of dictates what we're going to do, and we really wanted to get this place commemorated. So. And the title of this one, Shannon, shows up. Shannon was a worker in the Lewis and Clark expedition, and he disappeared for 2 weeks. And we found the route at this point. So there was a little plaque that said this was where Shannon shows up. And if you travel along the Missouri River, you just get sick and tired of Lewis and Clark. Something must have happened since 1805.
Shannon's first name, do you have? Okay.
No, Gus. I mean,
Yeah.
He was, I think, the youngest one,
yeah.
Oh, beautiful. Badlands.
but I don't remember his first name.
This is gorgeous.
So this is that gold cairn with some green parts in it. Similar to the pollinators, but welcome. Talk about getting lucky. 4th of July.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and a lot of Badlands, North Dakota, South Dakota. This is near Vermilion, South Dakota. And it's not I thought at first it was a Native American mound, but it's not. It's a geological formation that peaked look on the mountain and the hill in the back. Because otherwise South Dakota is pretty flat.
What is the crop there?
It's prairie grasses. This is a prairie preserve.
Yeah, so those are just natural plants, it's not an agricultural crop.
No, not this one.
The white ones are elderberries, I think.
maybe you can identify some others. Good to know. Yeah, so one of the ways we hope to bring people into these pictures and give them a sense that they're looking at a real place is the detail that Josh is able to capture. So that frequently we print these things really large, 60 inches wide, 40 inches high. The smallest we printed by 20 by 30. And our idea is that when you look at one of these on the museum or gallery wall, it fills your frame of vision. So it's as if you were there. Nebraska. I don't think of lakes in Nebraska, but there's Centennial Lake was big. The significance of the Decatur Bridge is that a woman drove by and stopped and she said, you know, that whole bridge was underwater in the flood of 2017, maybe? 2011. So it was all higher than, yeah. So here's some agricultural crops.
Corn. Oh, don't take it away.
Oh, I want to go back to the corn.
That's some tall.
Yes. It's July 8th. So the elephant's eye.
Yeah.
Corn is as high as an elephant's eye.
Okay, the next one for you, Missouri River, where we racers, you might recognize that it's this spot.
Cowboys.
And what we learned is that in the background, in the upper right-hand corner, that building is the sewage for the city of Kansas City. So when we were there, you could tell it was where the sewage. Have you ever?
Oh, yeah. It comes out like a waterfall into the river, like right down there. Yeah.
It's called Point, the start of the in Missouri River 340.
Yes.
I thought it's never.
So no canoes at this.
That's right. Those pecan trees. Oh, Roachport.
It's not, then you go to the next. Okay. So this is the river overlook. This broke one of our rules, which was not to have to walk too far to carry the cans. If you've ever walked that trail to get to the where you can see it, it's not true.
The scour hole. We pulled a refrigerator out of that scour hole.
Did you?
Probably several, actually.
Is that the I-70 bridge?
No, that's the 370 bridge in St. John's.
Yeah, this is farther away from the village. So then the story of this is it's called Echo Park, and it's an area where the city of St. Charles bought out a lot of homes that were typically flooded and turned it into a park. And this is the several views standing on the confluence of the Mississippi and Missouri rivers, looking south and then looking north. And so in the first image, what I always have to think about this. The Missouri is coming from the right, and Mississippi from the left, and it looks as if they split again, but that's an island in the middle there. So actually at that point, if they are technically 100, and then this is standing at the point and looking back. One more view, which is looking east at that same point. So it's interesting because subsequent floods, we did this in 2018, the flood of 2019 has just about erased any of those things you see on the ground there. It's been eroded and a lot of sediment. And, but you can, after being closed in almost a year, you can now walk back out to it. So in doing all of this, what I am learning about why are we doing this? Well, we're doing it for 11 years, just now figuring out why we're doing it. Well, for us, the process of making the art is a way of seeing and perceiving, and ideally that sense of seeing something fresh happens for the viewer too. So hope that happens for you. And it's because why I'm guessing that all you do what you do is because you're kind of in love with the river. Something about it that makes your heart sing. So I wanted to close with just a little poem from Natalie Diaz, who wrote this poem, part of the bit from her poem, Exhibits from the American Water Museum. And I think she's speaking as if she were the river. You have been made in my likeness. I am inside you. I am you, or you are me. Let us say to one another, I am yours. And know finally that we will only ever be as much as we are willing to say of one another. So do we have time for questions, Steve?
Me too. I'm gonna. That working? Give a little test.
Yes. Okay.
Does that work?
All right. Well, first of all, I wanted to mention to everyone, I think you have several books for sale back here, is that right? So you have the Mississippi River North, Mississippi River South, and that's St. Louis, is that correct?
Well, south of the Ohio, I think is how we divided it. So if you're interested, it's $30 for the north and $35 for the south. More pages for me.
Well, they're just so stunning, and they're beautiful, and I know you guys are working on some more that will just kind of keep coming out, which is exciting.
Missouri's next.
Missouri's next. And one other thing I did want to note too is Josh puts out books of his own too. That, I mean, he's just a fantastic photographer, as we've seen, you know, and he did a series about the border and the border areas of, you know, Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, California, that are really stunning. Did he put a book out about that as well?
Josh Rowan photography.com, joshrowanphotography.com. Check it out. It's also linked on our website, which is Watershed Cairns.com. And you can see some of his photography. He's done a lot of, he calls them flip books. They're just image after image of beautiful places.
And then he also does the artwork for Four Hands Brewing. So if you're into Four Hands Brewing, all the crazy cool artwork on those cans is Josh as well. So who has a question I can chase down? All right, I'm gonna run back to now.
I'm curious, how you guys packed a van and drove like all the way almost to Canada, and then like, how you decided to put these cairns together, like. You are building them on site and deciding like which, like, how did you pack all of this glass and then in a van, yeah, right in the river, and how, I mean, just how did you do that? Like, what was your process?
Okay.
In building them?
Did anything great?
Oh, yes, yes. Um, well. So I build them thinking about the places that will go, that, okay, something that will mirror the mountains, and so the crystal piece got built. And some of it is just technical to you, different kinds of light. So, if it's kind of a gray day, a translucent piece of glass will play with the light better than a crystal. So trying to get a variety of types of glass and ones that can be interchanged and stacked. And then I use crates and tubs, and everybody I know saves their packing material for me. So the really good stuff is the white soft foam that electronics packed in. And luckily my son-in-law is a computer techie guy. So whenever they get new electronics, I get the phone. Oh, thank you for that computer. Give me the phone. So it, yeah, and then we drive along and we hit a, Josh is really a good driver, but if we hit a pothole and things get, then we stop and grease pack. But there's no room in the van. You know, we have to take things out to get to the ones in the back. Wall to wall.
Could you tell us a little bit about how you make the glass? The things appear perfectly circular. Do you spin them, or how do you make these pieces?
Well, I go to Goodwill, flea markets, I buy bases and bowls and lamp parts, and then I stack them, and when I get a stack that I like, I glue them with E6000 glue, and then
So you don't melt the glass and spin
no, the only things I do is occasionally sanding them so that it's surprising, they don't make bases absolutely level. You can't figure it out.
So you don't do any glass blowing?
I sandblast
Wow.
some of them in patterns and,
Yeah.
but it's all out there in the
They're
world.
all perfectly round, it appears to me.
Yeah, that's, if you look at Goodwill, 90% of the glass is brown.
Yeah, yeah. Gold, condition, glasses,
And base,
maybe.
I was curious, how many of these sites did you know you were going to visit, and how many did you just happen to find along the way?
well, we do pick out some sites prior, you know, we have to get an image of Yellowstone, at least one, you know, so, but when we're doing these long trips, we have a rule that we have to make an image every 20 to 50 miles.
Oh.
So we look at a map and look for places where we can have access to the river in that 20, 30 mile radius. And then if we can't find it, we go a little farther. But we just look for the green spaces on the map and drive along the roads that will get us closest to the river.
So how long is a long trip? And do you camp along the way, or do you just say that it's spot?
Josh would camp. I want a hotel.
Yes, amen.
And I would.
I'm looking at this photo right here, wondering, did you take any more close-ups of the actual farm? Seems like you, I mean, the background is incredible. But then like this one right here, when you look at each piece of the face, you almost in color. I'm just curious, did you do pictures that are actually closer on the farm?
No, we don't, but when they're blown up 40 by 60, you know, it's as if it were a detail. You can really see.
These glasses are all different colors.
These are, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Introduce the blue color. No, we don't have any.
You said you're done with this project now,
Yes,
so you still have all the pieces of glass, and would you create to sell a sculpture then for the different locations?
yeah, we could. Some of them have been glued together permanently, others are easily put back together out of 2 or 3 crates. So. There's one more questions.
You could sell them. If you want. People would buy them.
Well, one of the issues is that they people say, oh, I'd love to put that in my garden. And I have to tell you, you know, the glue it doesn't hold up forever. And you know, they're not, they get dirt in them, they catch water, they tend to not look pretty. Sorry.
I just want to tell you how they are affecting me. They're affecting me in a way that I appreciate the landscape so much more. Having that as a focal point and how it complements the colors that are going on in the whole landscape, and I don't know, I think it totally elevates the whole scene. Which I think is your point. Well, it's really working.
Yeah, and that's Josh's credit, because if I took these photos, they would be nice snapshots, but he's a professional photographer. He knows how to capture that light and get it inside a piece of glass.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering like, how often you would have to sit and wait for the light to be right. Once you got the thing assembled. Or those kinds of things where sort of the time of day, you just sort of had to wait for it to be right.
Yeah, sometimes that happens. That fire thing, we waited. I think that was taken at 11:30, and we probably got there at 10 o'clock maybe. So yeah, you have to wait until it's right.
Well, I enjoyed your mention of Lake Itasca on the Mississippi, because about 4 years ago, my wife and I started in Missouri and determined to follow the Mississippi all the way up to its source. At Lake Itasca, now there are probably creeks that come into Lake Itasca, so you can't say that's the very source. But that's the source of the name, Mississippi River. It flows out of Lake Itasca. And I waded across the Mississippi at about 3 different points. But we had the most interesting experience there in that right in the middle of the trail, there was a little hole, and baby turtles were emerging from this hole, and the creek was just 10 or 20 feet away. But how did Mama Turtle ever dig a hole right in the middle of the trail? I have pictures, the little baby turtles emerging. We waited quite a while and watched the little turtle. It was an amazing experience. Now, you did a few cairns there at Lake Itasca, right?
Well, we did a few cairns following the river as it left. There's one we did off the Creek.
Where you really can walk across the Mississippi at that point.
Yeah, and you can walk up the Mississippi too, little minnows swimming all around.
Out in the middle of Minnesota, I guess it is. Very good.
The question was already asked about traveling, but I'm looking at that card right now, and I can't even imagine being nervous about finishing that thing.
Yeah.
Surely you had to this happen.
Yes, we have. But actually, well, one last quick story. So we're doing the Illinois River and we're in Henry, Illinois last month. And we set up this cairn that's shaped like, kind of like a fish on what was the lock that was built in 1850 on the Illinois River. So it's overlooking the area. Josh has taken a bunch of photos and then I say, wait, it's not quite straight. I go and I do what I think is straight. And he's ready to take another shot. A gust of wind comes and the cairn goes floating down the river. But because it has a plate glued on it, it's watertight and it's floating around. So this young couple were there with a boat. And, I told her what the problem was and she said, honey, I have a job for you. And he went and stood on their boat until the cairn floated by and he picked it up out of the water. So
Hope you got pictures of that.
we didn't, we were so. But one thing, Josh was picking up all the little glass shreds from the other piece that had broken, but he wasn't even paying attention.
Do you have a map on your website that where you have some of these photographs that people can see kind of like where they're at in the watershed? Do I remember?
No, we have it in the book, but we don't have it on the website yet. We just haven't had the money to.
Oh, no, yeah, that's complicated. I can't imagine.
Yeah, we're working on it. We might get it.
Oh, wow, very cool. Well, I know that you had some of these blown up pieces at the St. Louis airport for a while, which is really cool. And also the St. Louis Art Museum, is that correct?
No, the
The
History Museum, we've exhibited there, the Dubuque Museum of Art, the Cedarhurst Center for the Arts in Mount Vernon, Illinois. And those are the big ones. Oh, a place that if you're up in going up north to go in Winona, the Minnesota Marine Art Museum. Really cool paintings. They have George Washington crossing the Delaware, one of two. Yeah.
I was really struck by your photos.
Mhm.
You know, that tiny exploding home.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about that?
Are we running over time here?
No.
Okay, so in Winona, there's a bridge that goes across the river, and people live in what they call boat houses, not houseboats, but they build little houses on 55-gallon plastic 55-gallon drums tied together, and then they build little houses. And they are kind of under the bridge and they're sort of grandfathered in. They're not, they don't meet the current standards for housing. And we were there and the water was high. So they have like walkways that go from their boat houses to where the shore usually is. And they were all kind of like floating. So
Are any of them year round?
Apparently a couple are, but mostly they're seasonal.
If you have floating villages, which we call California. West Coast. Well, that's such a cool piece too, like where the like humans living on the river kind of transects with your project documenting kind of where the water comes from and where it goes. Well, thank you so much. And Libby, it feels really special to us. You kind of curated a Missouri River show for us by kind of pulling together some of the special Missouri River related photos from the watershed. And that is such a treat. And thank you for giving us that travel log of everything that is flowing past us right now. But and thank you for all your stories and photos that you shared. We're really just gonna wait with bated breath for when you get that Missouri River book out too. So we'll share the words so everybody knows they can order from you. But your website is watershedcairns.com, and can people order the books that you have there? But you have some for sale tonight as well, right?
But yeah,
Awesome, great. Well, thank you. Great, well, thanks all of you guys for coming out tonight, and muchas gracias to Libby for hosting us once again. Next month in December, and I don't remember the date. It's going to be Jim Karpowitz and Mike Jenner. So Jim helped. He was kind of one of the main founders of Missouri River Relief, and also has been a rock climber in the area for many years. And he really pioneered a lot of the rock climbing routes along the Missouri River bluffs, along Birchie Creek, and also just really right below here and down along these bluffs along the Missouri River and other places too. But Mike and Jim are just really they're gonna talk a lot about just kind of that history of pioneering some of these routes along the Missouri River, why they love Missouri River limestone, and hopefully they'll tell lies about each other and stuff like that. So, that would be like a fun special presentation in December. So hope you guys will be able to make it for that and help us spread the word.
Gonna be right here.
Yeah. Lord willing, the creek don't rise.
River. Good creek.
Yep. Thanks, you guys.
Parents were rocks. Oh, wait.
You can do anything special.